John, how are you?
I'm good, H. How you doing, mate? You okay? What's all that in the background? Where is that? Is that your house?
No, this is Bournemouth Football Club.
Oh, you're at Bournemouth. Oh, they're looking for a manager.
They are, John. You're the man. Come
I
on.
don't know about that, mate.
Get yourself back in there. How did it all begin for you, really? You know, playing football and then coming to Watford. What was the pathway of that?
Well, I grew up in Jamaica, and I came to England when I was 13 years old. And then I went to a school.
But did you come to play,
No.
It wasn't like you were seen as a 13-year-old who was fantastic.
My dad was a diplomat. He came as military attaché.
Yeah.
He was a colonel in the army. So he came on a 4-year posting. So I knew I was coming to England when I was 13. I was going to go back to Jamaica when I'm 17. But while I'm here, I'm going to play football. So, of course, I went to a rugby school, didn't play football at school. My dad played football for Jamaica. I played football growing up in Jamaica, so I always played football. So I knew I would always play football. If I went back to Jamaica, I would have played football. I got offered a scholarship to Washington University, a football scholarship. So I was going to do that. But obviously, I was playing local football for Sudbury Court by Wembley, a non-league team, and a scout saw me. Taxi driver knew a scout who saw me playing and recommended me to the scout. Now, if that taxi driver didn't stop, I would never have been spotted. That's hard for people to understand because they feel that, they had academies and they know where the good players are. You know, Harry, you have to be lucky to be spotted back then. Whereas
absolutely.
Now, any 10-year-old kid, any 6-year-old kid is going to be at an academy. So I was lucky to be spotted.
Yeah, and as you say today, they can tie their boots up, right? They're in the academy, aren't they?
Absolutely. So no one's going to slip through the now. Whereas back then, and you must have known loads of good players, as I did growing up, who were never spotted and never made it.
Loads and loads. Kids with real ability, yeah. You went there at 15?
No, at Sudbury. So I played for my local youth club, Stowe Boys Club. Then at 16, I went to Sudbury Court to play for the men's team. And that's when they spotted me and recommended me to a scout. So I started training at Watford. And then Watford offered me a contract. I mean, my dad had already gone back to sort the house out in Jamaica. I was going to go to America. And this is like less than a year before I actually signed. I was already going back to America. So I decided to then stay and play. And I could have gone to a better club with Graham Taylor because they do look after young players.
John would have gone into the youth team and suddenly he's playing, what you were 16, John, were you?
I was 17 when I signed.
17. So you've gone there, you started in the South East Counties League or?
Because I was 17, because I was in the lower six, I signed as a professional, although I'm 17.
Right.
And the season started and we had one game. This is my first game. I played one youth team game in the May at the end of that season. I've now signed the contract. I played one reserve game. So I played one youth team game, one reserve game on the Saturday, because on the Saturday, as you will know back then, the first team played away at Newcastle. The reserves play at home. Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Played at Vicarage Road. You played on the pitch.
Yeah, and this is my first game against Swindon. 3 o'clock, proper football. Saturday, 3 o'clock. Scored a goal. Luther got sent off against Newcastle. The first game of the season. This is my one and only game in the reserves. Luther gets sent off against Newcastle that day. And what automatically happened back then is that you just missed the next game and he got sent off. So the second game of the season is against Oldham at home. Graham Taylor put me on the bench for the first team. I've only had one reserve game, one youth team game. Graham Taylor puts me on the bench against Oldham. Second game of the season, I came on for the last 12 minutes as a sub against Oldham. I must have done okay. So the third game of the season, Luther comes back into the team, but he doesn't leave me out. He doesn't even put me on the bench. He puts me in the team, and he leaves somebody else out. Brilliant. Third game of the season against Chelsea away, and I never left the first team after that. So I never played any youth games, never played any reserve games. But that is why I was lucky, because had I been in the country by myself, my mum and dad had gone back, I'm in the reserves, I'm in the youth team, I'm in the reserves for 2 years, it's not working out.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't have any family here, no mum, no dad, no cousins. But because I'm in the first team, Harry, and if your football goes well, no matter where you are,
of course,
your life goes well.
You're happy.
I was fortunate that I was in the first team ever since.
And working with Graham Taylor, I mean, that must have been an amazing difference, John, for you being with Graham, and he was a fantastic organised coach, wasn't he?
He was, but the thing about it, I just thought this is what professional football is. With the young players, after young players, no drinking, no going out, invested in the community. We had to go into the community to work in the community. We had it in our contract that we had to devote 14 hours a week to community service. Now, of course, that means something else these days, H. And from your part in the East End, community service means something else. But what that meant for us was we had to go to schools, we had to go to colleges, we had to go to old people's homes. So we had to go and do lots of community work. And I thought this is what football was until I went to Liverpool and found out that this is not what football is. It's about, back then, just going out and enjoying yourself. So I was brought up in a very professional environment.
This free trade investment app is terrific. If you've ever thought about investing, this is a great way to start and to grow some wealth over the long term. It's so simple, anybody can use it. Come here, I'll show you. You can buy and sell stocks plus ETFs with none of your high commission fees you might get elsewhere. It's commission free and there's no hidden cost. Brilliant for beginners and experts, the free trade app is trusted by over 700,000 investors. Even better, if you register and fund your account via freetrade.io/Harry, you get a free share worth between £3 and £200. Oh yeah, and don't forget that when investing, your capital is always at risk, meaning your investment can go up, but they can also go down. Other charges may apply. The football, when you went to Liverpool, if you got a corner, you'd be pleased. They were that good. It was just scary time to go there and play. Fantastic. But yeah, it was, John said, very much off the cuff. They just signed good players and, getting the best out of them is what you have to do as a manager. And I think the managing today is, that's what you're massaging egos. You're getting the best out. You're telling them how good they are. It's a very changing game. Back in the day of people going mad and shouting and screaming, them days are gone. You can't do that with a modern player anyway.
When I played is what should happen. The manager should be the most important person in the club. Never mind of the team and the manager. When you spoke about the owners and the chairman and chief executives, Elton John was the owner of the Watford Football Club. When Graham Taylor came in, Elton would keep quiet, and Graham would say to Elton, "Right, time to leave now." You know what I mean? Yeah. And if Elton was in the players' lounge, even having a drink with the players, and they saw it, and Graham will come in, and the players will hide their beer, Elton would hide his beer as well, because Elton knew that for the players to respond, they have to respond to the manager. The players have to see the manager as the most important person, because when the manager says jump, you have to jump. If the players then feel that there's somebody more important than the manager, they will undermine the manager, because you can only please 11. And that's where Harry was the best, because you can only please 11 players, but you've got 20 in the squad. How are you going to keep the other 9 happy? And that's what you have to do. Whereas back then, you didn't have to do that, because you're not playing because I said you're not playing. Don't knock on the door to ask me why you're not playing and stuff like that. So times have changed, and that's why Harry was able to then manage back then, but manage now. Why Graham Taylor couldn't manage now is because he wouldn't put up with that from the players. In fact, Sir Alex Ferguson would find it difficult to put up with the players now, because the players are so powerful. So but even look at Guardiola, for example. This is what Harry's saying is right. You have to have the players, because Guardiola couldn't go and manage Blackpool.
For John, it's incredible to think he's come out of playing like in a local team, and within a couple of 2 games, he's playing in the first team, and at 18 and a half, he's in the England team.
Without I said out of Jamaican passport.
Yeah, but we see, John, I speak to people now who have got kids at football clubs, and they go, "Oh, he's only 21. He's in the under-23 team. He's doing really well. He's just got in the under-23s. He's 21. He's in the England team, 18 and a half. How good shows you. It's incredible, isn't it, really, to be that good and to get picked for England at 18 and a half.
You have to really look at the mentality of any player to then talk about the jump up. Because all it is 11 players playing football. And are you good enough to do that? Because, as I said, I was 17 when I signed for Watford. I played 1 reserve game. Then I'm in the first team, playing for the first team forever. Then within 18 months, I'm playing for England at 18 and a half, just before my 19th birthday, having been a professional footballer for 1 year. And I'm now playing for England at 19. And I wasn't arrogant. I didn't show off, but and when I talk about it, I just felt that I had the confidence to do it. Not from an arrogant point of view, but to know that because I prepared well, I trained hard, I trained really hard with Watford, I'm able to control the ball, I'm able to pass the ball, and it's about your mentality of handling the occasion, not playing the occasion, playing the game. Meaning that if you can pass the ball and beat players and score or make the right decisions when you're training or when you're playing at Vicarage Road, what difference does it make playing in Americana in front of 100,000? It's still the same game. So the mentality is, and you talk about someone like Paul Gascoigne. Paul Gascoigne at 16, 17 shouldn't be doing what he's doing because he didn't know he shouldn't be doing that. So your mentality is the biggest thing. So the jump up is different for different people.
Bellingham, what's he? He's probably just 18, is he now? 17, 18. Same type of thing as John, really, just an incredible talent. And, if they're young enough, if they're good enough, you stick them in. But to be in the England team at that age is incredible, I think.
I'll tell you the difference then, Harry. I'll tell you the difference then. The difference then is me as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, when I'm playing for England, even though I was playing for Watford until I got to maybe 21, was that as much as I'm playing for England at 19, one of only two Watford players at 19, Graham Taylor never treated me as if I was one of the senior players, one of the superstar players. In England, there was no pressure on me to perform. It was on Steve Sims, it was on Luther, it was on... So they didn't put pressure on young players.
Yeah.
The problem we have now is that when we've got a good 18-year-old playing, all of a sudden we put all this pressure on him to then say, he's the reason why we're going to win. That was never me at Watford. As much as I was the only one playing for England at 19, none of the other players were. If I didn't perform well in the team, they didn't say, oh, John Barnes let us down, because Graham Taylor knew that you had to handle the young players without putting pressure on them. How did you find the young players, Ace, that you had when you were, the young superstar players with that?
They were quite grounded, especially we had Frank Lampard, who was just an amazing trainer. And his dad obviously had been a player for 20 years at West Ham. And he was so, every afternoon he'd be out doing extras. And it rubbed off on the other kids more than I could give them. I think they looked at him. Rio saw how Frank worked, how he trained. Joe Cole, they all, and he set a great example, Jermaine Defoe and them boys. But Frank was really, even though he was only a kid, they saw how hard he worked to become a player. And I think it rubbed off on all the kids. They all wanted to suddenly, do what he was doing and try to improve their games. Thanks ever so much, John, for today.
Thanks, Paige. All the best, mate.
It's always great talking to you.